Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
1, 2. Check me out right here, yo.
Yo, the sun don't shine forever, but as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. Better now than never.
Thank you for joining me for another edition of the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. Keith, once again, I do not have I forgot to pull up the number before I started this show. So if you could get me the number, I'll tell that out. But I'm here with Derek Hernandez of NoCoastBias.com, founder. How are you doing today, Derek?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, are you a fan of Puff Daddy, Biggie's Notorious Big, and Victory, or is that up your alley?
Oh yeah, it is definitely. Back when I was younger in the early '90s, during that whole East Coast West Coast thing, I was a big Tupac fan, but I was totally all about Puff Daddy, Diddy, or whatever he called himself back then. So great choice.
Thank you. Well, NFL today. The Bears going to New England, getting blown out. Ben Roethlisberger thrown for 522 yards and single-handedly pretty much beating the Colts. What was the most surprising storyline of the day for you?
Geez, out of everything, you mentioned Tom Brady and the Patriots there is, I think the reports of their demise have been kind of greatly exaggerated here. The last couple of weeks, their offense has exploded. I know they were kind of putting things together offensively there. I was just surprised they're starting to look like that 2007 version where they put up, 50 points a game. That was rather surprising to me. I also thought the Lions coming back really early this morning and out in London, I think they were down by 21 in the second half, and they came back and won and won by 1 point, and that was rather surprising as well, especially without Reggie Bush and without Calvin Johnson.
Do you think a team in London can work?
No, flat out no. I think there's just too many logistical issues there. If you're a player, you probably don't want to play for that team. You're going to have to be, move away from your family. I think the only way it could possibly work is if you had multiple bye weeks for some teams. I just think logistically it won't work unless you have another group of teams out in that region. I just don't think logistically it's possible.
If we want to satisfy Europe, bring back NFL Europe. I get that it didn't work because, monetarily it just didn't make sense. But if you want to do the Europe thing again, why not just do that instead of, forcing a team and then, I guess monetarily it makes sense for teams like, Jacksonville to give up a game or, Oakland to give up a game here and there to go to London because it doesn't make any difference whether they'll probably make more money going to London than they will having a home game in Oakland or Jacksonville.
Definitely. Some of those bigger franchises, they have no reason to go out there. It gives the NFL brand some good exposure if you have the Cowboys or the Niners or the Packers, some of those traditional teams that go out there. But what's kind of confusing to me is that they want to expand globally. Toronto, I think sometimes hosts games with the Buffalo Bills. Maybe kind of expand out into Canada. I don't know if Mexico is off limits. Let's just expand right on this continent first, and then maybe worried about going across the pond.
What happened to the Mexico thing? Because Mexico City was one of those hot destinations for a while. I don't know if it was the drug cartel or the what it was about Mexico that drove them away from Mexico City. Because they had that preseason game with the Cardinals and 49ers years back. I wonder what happened with Mexico City that all of a sudden that's a destination that's off limits.
Yeah, I don't recall what happened there. So they did have a game, and I thought it went pretty well. and the changing demographics in the U.S. with a lot of the more of the Hispanic population more or less taking over the country, that would be a boon for the NFL for adding and expanding their customer base, basically.
Well, and looking at the London thing, what's confusing to me with London is, I don't get, like, if you we're sending these middle tier teams to London, and sometimes really bad teams to London to play. If you sent Premier Soccer League teams to the U.S. and sent them to, I don't know, New York or something, like mid-level or bad Premier Soccer League teams to play, one game in New York, I don't think you get that kind of crowd. I don't get what the deal is with London, these people actually buying into this.
Yeah, that is rather strange. I know we have, some of the Premier League teams come out here, the cream of the crop team, but they may not send all of their star players. But like you said, it's a big brand name that they're sending over here. They're not sending us, they're the teams that were relegated the year before, or anything like that. It's exactly like you said. We're sending over, Falcons and Lions aren't really flashy names per se, but it is interesting. I'm just kind of looking up right now the whole Mexico City versus London comparison. Mexico has nearly 59 million more people than England, so that would be a bigger market for the NFL. So it's kind of surprising they're not really seriously considering that location.
Well, with looking at the London thing one more time, what's your predict? What do you think happens first? A Super Bowl in London or a team in London?
Ooh, I'd probably say Super Bowl. I'd say Super Bowl.
I'm in that same boat too.
You're gonna say both?
I'm in the same boat as you. I think it's going to be a Super Bowl in London. I just don't see an owner. An owner willing to move the franchise to London. I just don't see that happening, and I don't think it's it's too small of a sample size to say that it could work.
Oh, I'm in total agreement there, and I think for a big event like the Super Bowl, usually you get out of towners having to go to the game to that whatever the predetermined destination is. The biggest game in the world. Why not have it all over the place? I think that's more viable. Time zones might be an issue. The game might be on a little later there and earlier here, but I think it's more it's something easier to do that one game versus moving an entire franchise, figuring out all the scheduling issues and all the logistics.
I'm here with Derek Hernandez from NoCoastBias.com here on the Bob Sullivan Show. If you want to call in, 585-633-7487 to talk to me or Derek. Derek, looking at the, NFL in general, Arizona and Dallas are the two top teams in the NFC. Should we make anything of that yet, or should we, wait a couple more weeks? Just be patient with things, with the way things have gone so far.
I would wait a little bit. I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, so that might be, that part of me mentioning that. But Dallas, for example, I don't think they've beaten a winning team all year. They look great. I don't know how long they can ride DeMarco Murray the way they're playing right now. I think they did some statistical look, analysis of running backs that have gotten the ball that many times this early in the season. They usually flame out at the end of the year. The formula is great, but I don't know if you can ride DeMarco Murray that long. Arizona, they're kind of sneaky. They were good enough to be a playoff team last year. They just happened to be in the wrong division. So, I don't think anybody predicted they'd be 6-1, but nobody predicted the Seahawks would be where they're at right now either. The Niners have been kind of having some issues with Jim Harbaugh drama. The Rams just kind of fell off. So that's not as surprising as the Dallas thing, because I think a lot of people thought Dallas was just going to be maybe the worst defense of all time. I think it's a little too early, but I think in that division of the NFC East, I think it's going to be them and Philly at the very end. NFC West, who knows what's going to happen with that. Arizona's defense is legit. They're starting to get healthy there. So you can probably pencil them in. The NFC North, that's always a crapshoot. So when you have a defense like Arizona, you're going to be around in every game. And so I think it's a little too early. It's encouraging for Arizona. I'm not so sure about Dallas the rest of the way.
Looking at the NFC West. Did you see this coming where this was going to be the most competitive division, pretty much top to bottom division in football? Because what was it, through 2010 or 2011, really until the Seahawks and 49ers got good, this division, it was not even close, the records, how bad it was compared to other divisions in football. Did you see this coming at all, with this division being this good?
To be honest with you, no. I think that their absolute nadir they had, I think it was the Rams or the Seahawks that were 7-9 in the playoffs. I had no idea Pete Carroll would turn into some sort of drafting genius. I didn't know I don't think Harbaugh was even on the radar yet for San Francisco. So I had no idea this was going to happen. But when you're bad, you do have a lot of good draft picks available to you, unless you're in Washington who just trades them all the way. But in that regard, you can maybe see some shifting there going on. But with the NFL, it's such a parity league. There's so much parity in the league that nothing surprises me anymore. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, and I thought the NFC South was going to be absolutely loaded this year. Now they're a complete joke. Carolina's in first with a losing record. So you never know what's going to happen in this league. I mean, it's usually one or two plays that decide a game. And if that happens a couple times a year, you can go from, a 5-game winning streak to a 5-game losing streak. So to be honest with you, no, back to your original question, I didn't see the NFC West becoming as loaded as they are right now.
What do you think's a bigger problem? The 49ers, Jim Harbaugh issues, or the locker room issues between players in Seattle?
Geez, I think probably the Niners issue, because I don't even think Harbaugh wants to be there. So I think a lot of the Seahawks players, they're so competitive, and I think they want to be there. I think they're getting rid of some of the bad apples there. I think if they're winning, it cure a lot of those locker room issues for Seattle. They just don't have any D-line depth right now, and basically zero receivers. But the Niners thing, it seems like it's been lingering for a few years, and I think it's going to blow up here if they start losing a couple games. They're just kind of hanging on by a thread. So if I had to choose one, I'd say the Niners situation is a little worse.
The reason why, I think the Niners, I think you want it one way or the other. You either want a coach everybody loves or a coach everybody hates. Because if you have that in-between guy, then you get kind of a divided locker room. If everybody hates the guy, it kind of, unites the locker room where they start playing against the coach. And somehow that works from time to time. And then if a guy, everybody loves him, they'll play for him because they love the guy. But, with the 49ers, I think it's kind of a divided locker room. Like, I don't think everybody hates him, and not everybody loves him. So he's kind of in between. So they're going to have, their highs and lows. So it's just going to be kind of a middle of the pack team in the NFC. And the Seattle, I think, they're getting rid of these guys like Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin isn't really like, you can't really judge him based on stats, because he does so much of everything that, if you just look at his receiving numbers, you're like, oh, he's not a very good receiver. If you look at his rushing numbers, he's not a very good rusher. But, you put them all together, it's a pretty good package that you're getting. I think it's just I definitely think the 49ers problems are going to be magnified because of Kaepernick, because I don't think everybody in that locker room is behind him. And it's not a Harbaugh issue, it's a Kaepernick issue.
Yeah, and especially, in Seattle, they mentioned some controversy about maybe Russell Wilson's not black enough or whatever. I think they kind of dismissed that today. But I think he's more of a natural leader compared to Kaepernick. So, if there was something going on in the locker room, I think people would respect him a little bit more than Cap. But back to Percy, too. I don't think he's nearly as great as he was before, but you do have to game plan for him. Because like you said, they are using him in a variety of fashions there. And I like the way that Seattle is utilizing him, in the run game and in the slot and things like that. So I was a little surprised they got rid of him, but if it was causing a locker room issue, I can totally understand why they got rid of him.
Yeah, what's weird is the whole Russell Wilson thing is I wasn't aware he was black. Like I thought he like I heard like all this time that he was Native American. So I just